Welcome to 30 job search secrets in 30 minutes. Now, this is the first time I've presented this particular group of slides, and so I'm going to be blazing through this. If you guys have questions, please ask. I'll look for them. I've got a couple screens going. Try to keep up with the chat. But my goal is to get through these in 30 minutes, as promised, and then answer some questions at the end. So fire away while we're going, and I'll stop where I can, but it's going to be rapid. So I'm gonna blow through these pretty quickly. Quick introduction, so you know who I am. My name is Pete Newsome, and I started a recruiting firm about 20 years ago now. It's what I do all day, every day professionally. We've placed north of 15,000 job seekers into great jobs over the years. So this is what I do all day, every day, is connect job seekers with great openings. And I'm also the father of four. And my oldest is 24 now. And a couple of years ago, I realized that there was a big need for more job search help. That kids coming out of school just don't, I say kids, you can tell I'm a little older, just don't have a great place to go for information. And so I wanted to do something about it. So my team and I created zengig.com, and we launched a job search course that provides everything you need to know to land your first professional job. So what I've done today is taken the top 30 secrets from that, and that's what I'm going to share. So you guys ready to go? Sound good? All right, let's blow through it. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to monitor them, but I'll definitely be able to answer at the end. Try to keep this to 30 minutes. So let's just get started with the first thing. There's 5 components to an effective job search. Now, you can have success without doing one or any of these, quite frankly, but I wouldn't rely on that any more than I wouldn't rely on winning a Powerball for my retirement plan. You can have guaranteed success to get interviews. Now, I can't guarantee what happens in the interview, because that's when you have to take over and shine in the moment. But I will tell you, if you plan for interviews, just like studying for a test, you're going to do really, really well when the time comes. But what I can guarantee is if you follow the right steps, you will have success. Now, we see a lot online right now, and if you're on social media, about the job market's awful. There's no jobs, nobody's hiring. Everyone wants someone with experience, even though it's an entry-level job. Don't buy into that. Buy into controlling your own destiny if you follow all the steps. So it starts with your resume. That's your first. That's your introduction to the professional world. All right. So here's secret number 1. Employers only spend 6 seconds looking at a resume before making a decision whether to move forward. The top 20% of your resume is everything. And what I equate it to is being in a checkout line in a grocery store, where you can picture the magazines off to the side, and you look at those and you see headlines, right? You scan them. If something grabs your interest, you may pick it up and open it. You may actually buy the magazine. But if it doesn't grab your interest, you're going to move on and never think about it again. That's exactly how resumes work. When a recruiter at a company or a hiring manager, whoever is reviewing that resume first, sees it, they're going to make a quick decision. So think headlines on your resume. You have to grab the attention. So let's talk about a couple ways to do that. Job search secret number 2. Oh, let me go to my slides. Thank you for pointing that out. Here we go. I have some help here, which I need because I'm blazing through this. Here's secret number 1 again, and now we'll go to 2. All right, zip code. With the top of your resume, we'll just go from the top down, where you have your contact information listed. Everyone puts their name, right? But then it comes a matter of, well, what else you put? Do you put your street address? No, you don't need to do that. No one needs to know exactly where you live. But you should always put a zip code. And the reason is, if you think about it logically, a recruiter who's searching for candidates is going to do a search not by the city name, right? So there's a Manhattan, New York, there's a Manhattan, Kansas. The zip code is a unique identifier to be associated with a specific geography. So they may want to look for candidates in a 10-mile radius of a certain zip code or a 50-mile radius of a certain zip code. So always put your zip code. The next thing you want to do, and this is secret number 3, is put the job title that you're applying to directly under your name. So this slide, if you see David Armstrong, entry-level marketing analyst, there is no question about who David is and what he's looking to do professionally. It's such an easy win and a great way to stand out. So if you are sending your resume to someone generically, let's say a family member or a friend who's trying to help you out, you don't have to put the specific job title because you're not going to know where it's going to go. But if you know you want to work in marketing, put entry-level marketing, put marketing professional. Just start to tell your story from the second line of your resume. And that is something that can make a big difference in how you're going to stand out from the crowd, because that's really what all this is about, right? It's standing out. What can you do that others don't? So secret number 4, and you've probably heard this already, so I'm going to blow past this one quickly. Tailor your resume to match the job that you're applying for. Now, the way to do that is to let the job description be your guide. Look at the words and phrases that are used there, work them naturally into your resume, and don't go overboard, right? You don't want to be silly about it, but you do want to take advantage of the words and phrases they're using so you can use them back in return. Now, the first person who sees your resume, not only are they going to be scanning quickly, there's a good chance they aren't intimately familiar with the job duties and what that role actually does for a living, right? If it's a technical job, the recruiter's not necessarily technical at all. So the easier you make it to that for that first person to see, hey, this resume matches the job description, let me move them on to the next step, whatever that is, that's a great way to do it. Okay. Number 5, include an objective statement, not a history or an overview. 3 sentences. That's it. No one wants to read your life story. They won't, I promise. They may be interested later, but not in this phase. Do it 3 sentences. Who you are professionally, what you're looking for, and if you're applying to a specific job, use the company name and the job title in that objective. Right? Your objective is to get a job as an X at ABC company. Right? Make it explicitly clear. Once again, it's an opportunity to stand out, and then why they should hire you. So this is where you want to include your strengths and skills as a candidate, anything that's going to boost your chances. And at the same time, work in the keywords and phrases of the job description again. So do it there too. So always have an objective statement, not a history. Now, if you're old like me, you may be able to include, here's my history, here's all the great things I've done, right? It's pretty clear what I do for a living since I've been doing it for a long time. But as a young professional, you don't necessarily have that history to rely on. So make your objective statement explicitly clear. All right. I don't see any questions yet. I'm going to keep looking, but are you guys good so far? Everyone follow me? I wish you could tell me yes, so I know you're able to hear me correctly. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going. All right. Job search secret 6 through 9. Put your education at the top. I see a lot of conflicting information about that, and it drives me crazy. The bottom line with a resume is you want to put your best attributes up front. Again, buy into the top 20% being everything. If that's not good, nothing else will matter. And when you are young, your education is huge. It's extremely relevant. When you're old like me, who cares? No one cares that I had a bad GPA or what degree I had in college or where I went to college. It doesn't matter. But here's a story that hopefully will resonate. I looked at a resume not too long ago. It was this really sharp young family friend who was having a very difficult time getting his resume noticed. And the first thing I saw was he had graduated in May of 2024, but his most recent experience was in 2022. Now, that was an internship. Makes perfect sense, right? He was in school. He was getting a master's degree, no time for work. But if you didn't know he was a recent grad, all you would have seen, all a recruiter is going to see, and this is what you need to buy into. It doesn't matter whether they should look at the rest of the resume. It's what they will do, and what happens all day, every day. All they saw was that this guy had last worked in August of 2022. Quickly move on. Now, should that be a huge red flag that you have a gap in your work experience? A lot of people will complain about that, and they'll say no. I'm not here to weigh in on that. I am here to say recruiters want to find the most viable candidate, the best one for the job. And they're not going to start with the candidate who hasn't worked in a year and a half in the field they're working for. So night and day, once that education went up top, now it tells an entirely different story. Okay. So if you're young, always have it up top. As you get older, it can move farther down. List achievements over duties and responsibilities. Quantify wherever you can. Use numbers, use statistics, use the size of things. It enhances the story, and that's what all this is about. It's telling your story in a way that's going to get noticed, right? So achievements over duties, and quantify whatever you can. Experience. Let's talk about that for a second. So traditionally, I remember when I was coming out of school, I thought, well, how are my jobs going to help me, right? These jobs, I was like, I worked at a daycare, I worked at a gas station. I didn't really have jobs that I thought were going to mean much in my professional life. But remember, it's experience, not necessarily work experience. So school projects, volunteer activities, especially those that were relevant to your job, absolutely include those. And I'm going to give you a side secret for a minute. If you're young, or even if you're not, even if you're halfway through your career, even at the end of your career, as soon as you can, create a master resume document that where you can include all these things that you're going to forget over time, right? You may have done, I probably did great things 20 years ago that I've completely forgotten about. So as time goes on, you'll forget things. So all those school projects and volunteer activities you've done recently, while they're fresh in your mind, record them in that master resume, put specific dates and achievements, right? And then you can pull from them where appropriate, depending on the job you want to pull from. So that's what that master resume document is. It's basically a big resource that you can pull from at any given time as you're customizing your resume for specific jobs. So don't overlook and don't discount your projects and your volunteer experience that you did in school. The next thing is to use bullet points. I mentioned earlier, no one wants to read your life story in an objective statement. Well, bullet points are much better than a paragraph. Always, no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You have to capture that limited mind share and time that the first person, and even after, right? Even after that first 6 seconds, and you go, hey, this candidate's probably good. I still don't want to read a book. I don't, as a recruiter. Recruiters look at hundreds of resumes a day, potentially. Use headlines, stand out in bullet points. Okay, we doing good? We're still on time? I think so. A little slow. Okay. Job search secret number 10. If you want to screenshot this, you can, but the message here is to use action verbs. These are the different scenarios you'd want to use them in. So for project work, you can say executed. For problem solving, you can say transformed. For leadership, you can use coordinated. So the more action verbs combined with putting metrics and accomplishments in your statements it'll just enhance it, right? It'll make it sound better. So always use action verbs. Don't use the same one repeatedly. Mix them up. Get on Google. Use all the resources available to you. But the more action verbs you use, the more the pieces of your resume are going to jump off the page to whoever's reading. All right. Secret number 11. Use a chronological format. I'm just going to say, trust me on this. Right? There's a lot of goofy formats out there with templates. The templates will have at times will be difficult to upload into applicant tracking systems. So quick word on that. That is just software that companies big and small, pretty much every organization who hires with any consistency whatsoever, other than maybe the smallest of 1 or 2 person organizations, use an applicant tracking system where they store resumes. That's where the applications are received. And if the resume is in a format that can't be read by that software, it's gonna throw it off, and you're gonna be buried, and it's just not gonna ever do you any good. So here's the best way to work around that. Use that chronological format. That's what people are used to seeing. It's technically a reverse chronological format, right? Your most recent accomplishments are up top. But here's what I recommend doing. Now, this is a little bit of a sales pitch I'm going to give you right now. I have partnered, Beam Jobs, I've worked with for years. Beam Jobs is, if you look them up, beamjobs.com, they have the best resume and cover letter building tool that exists on the market today. Well, because they've been such a great partner, they have offered to have anyone who buys our course, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. That's the course, $49. The Beam Jobs 3-month membership is $80, and they sell hundreds of these every day. You get it for free. So if you buy the job search course, you get Beam Jobs for free. You don't need to buy either, but if you want an advantage and the things that I'm telling you now are resonating, I'm gonna go through 30 days, about 100 in the course, and each part of the course gives you step-by-step instructions on how to implement each of these things, including scripts and so much more than I can do in 30 minutes. So if you want to check out the course, here's a code you can use. Take a quick shot of that, and I'll move on. Still doing good? All right, any questions? I'm looking. Let me know. Happy to answer them. Okay. Next, job search secret number 12. Screenshot this if you want. Before your resume goes out the door or gets sent online anywhere, go through these steps. I'm a big proponent, big fan of using WordTune or any of the tools like that help enhance your writing and proofreading apps, but don't rely on them because they miss homonyms. And I'll tell you, I worked with a chief information officer at one of my clients for years. And I'll just step back to say, if you're not familiar with what a recruiting firm like mine does, is we sit in the middle of companies who need to hire and job seekers. So our clients, most of the time they're big companies, not always. They'll give us their job requirements. We need someone who can do X, Y, Z at this level. And they give us all those details. And then we recruit candidates and try to find the best possible person for that role. And then we present them to our clients. So we do all the recruiting for them. And so this client of mine hired lots of people in IT from me for years. He would rule out any candidate who had a single typo on his resume. Think about that. A bullet that was mismatched, a font change, any little typo, he would rule out. So don't rely fully on the recruiting apps. You don't want the wrong spelling of two to prevent you from getting a job. And I promise that it can't. And guess what? You're never going to know why. So not only should you proofread it yourself, but have a friend do it, even two, if you can. Okay. Let's turn to LinkedIn. So that's it on resumes for now. Questions, we'll go back to them at the end. Job search secrets on LinkedIn, 13 through 17. Use a professional photo. It doesn't have to be professionally taken, but professional in appearance, and try to match it with the industry you're going for. Never, ever take a group shot. If you're young, coming out of college, I see way too many profile photos that were cut out of a selfie or a group. Don't do that. It's just not a good look. You want to put your best professional foot forward, just like Nicole is doing here. And your headline. So your headline are those first words surrounding, up where your photo is. Make it explicitly clear what you're looking for. And that's a theme that I'm repeating a lot because it's so important. And I see young professionals miss this on LinkedIn a lot. The tips here, LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. It is where recruiters live. It's where the people who are looking for job seeker or candidates for the jobs that they need to fill spend their professional day. And it is infinitely better to be found than to have to go find a job. So believe it or not, recruiters and employers, they worry just as much about finding right candidates who won't ghost them, who aren't going to flake, who are who they say they are, as job seekers worry about finding employers who aren't going to do those things to them. And the easier you can make it to be recruited, to be found, the better time you're going to have in your job search. So start with a professional photo, a clean headline. I'll mention this here too. The about section, use those same 3 sentences: who you are professionally, what you're looking for, and what are your greatest strengths as a candidate. Use that there too, just like like I recommended in the objective statement on your resume. It's the same kind of thing. The big difference being the about section is more generic because anyone could see it. Just describe what type of role and what field you're looking to go in. And once again, use keywords and phrases from the kind of jobs you want. Do a job search, look at your ideal positions, make sure it's the ones you're qualified for, right? Don't go too far above what's realistic, and then work those keywords and phrases into your LinkedIn profile. Now, I put this on here because it is important, and I'll tell you, I see candidates ruled out for this all the time. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile need to match. Okay, so if you make a change on one, make sure it's reflected on the other. If you have conflicting dates, recruiters are just going to move on. Recruiters and employers don't want to spend, and they won't spend the time investing to solve those kind of problems. And there may be a great reason for it. It could be just something you just kind of looked past or did by mistake. It doesn't matter. You're never going to hear from them because they're just going to move on. No one has time to invest in trying to solve a conflict. Okay. So 50 skills, it's a LinkedIn feature. Use the skills from the jobs and words and phrases, same thing. It's a feature of LinkedIn. Use that. It's a great way to show up in more searches and fill your profile out entirely. Don't skip it. Use all the features that come with LinkedIn. And you may be frustrated by LinkedIn. I often am too, but it's there to be used whether you like it or not, and you're missing a huge opportunity if you don't. Use the open to work feature. You see that a lot on social media too, whether you should put that green banner, it says open to work. I don't care if you use that or not, but when you're in your profile and you're editing it, turn on the open to work feature. That's different. And that's a signal to recruiters that you're someone who is an active job seeker. And then always connect with people on LinkedIn instead of follow. in the past 3 months, I've had it happen 10 times where a young professional, I've said, connect with me on LinkedIn. I kind of do it as a test because I want to see if they're going to do it the right way. If they don't do it the right way with me, they're not going to do it the right way with anyone. Don't follow someone. Depending on the mode setting that they have on LinkedIn, the default button may say follow. And if you follow me versus connect with me, we're not actually connected at all. That just means you're going to see my posts. So if you want to follow a celebrity or someone who has a giant following, that's great. But if it's someone in your industry, someone from your alumni network, friends, family, anyone that you're building your network with, never follow them. All you have to do is hit the more section. It'll drop down and you'll see the connect button. Use that every time. That's a given. And that's a huge miss all the time. So go back to all the people you follow and make sure you connected with them instead. Okay, where are the jobs? I'm running out of time here. I'm looking. So these are the top job boards. Indeed is an 800-pound gorilla. If your resume is anywhere, if it's only gonna be on one job board, I recommend you putting it on all these. Then put it on Indeed, right? And I have LinkedIn here added as a job board too, because LinkedIn is not just a place to be found; it is a place to apply for jobs, right? Each of these have an alert feature. So use those. And just like my LinkedIn recommendation on Handshake, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, use all the features. Right? They're all there. Now, you'll see people recommend, I see it all the time on LinkedIn, like here's another 50 job boards you can use. That's a waste of time, right? And the reason is because without getting into detail, those smaller job boards scrape jobs from the bigger ones, and that's where they get their traffic. No one's actually posting on those obscure job boards. They're only posting on the big ones. Now, Handshake, the reason why I like that one is because if you're a young professional, they're by default looking for entry-level candidates. So it's a really good fit to be on Handshake, and they design a lot of what they do with young job seekers in mind. Career Builder, kind of dated. That may seem like a surprise. You might not hear much about that. Monster.com used to be the biggest job board for years, and Career Builder was the biggest job board for years. And they've both sort of been taken over by Indeed in the prominence of LinkedIn. But right now, those two are merging. So I put Career Builder, not Monster, because Career Builder is bigger of the two. If they pick a name, it's probably going to be that one. So go ahead and get your resume on Career Builder. There's a recruiter on my team who swears by it. That's his favorite place to find candidates. He doesn't go on Indeed or LinkedIn first. He goes to Career Builder because it's a less crowded space. And so you can definitely be found there. Refresh your resume weekly on these job boards. What do I mean by that? I mean, go and make a small change, right? It can be adding a middle initial in your name, taking a middle initial out. It doesn't matter. Each change you make, go ahead and refresh it. You'll go back to the top. So the way recruiters search the resume databases of these job boards, it's keyword search, just like you do in Google. So they get all the relevant results and they rank them, or they sort them by the most recent resumes, right? Because they assume those are the people they want to talk to first. So if you make that change, you'll go up to the top. Otherwise, your resume could be buried pages deep. That one little switch can make all the difference in the world in how often you'll be contacted by recruiters. I promise. I've seen it dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the years, probably hundreds. So use all the features that are included on those job boards. But don't forget about company websites either. There are some companies, depending on their brand, how prevalent their brand is, and just how they approach hiring, they may never post externally. So make a list of all the companies you want to get in touch with, go to their website, make sure that they have your resume if there's a way to send it, and use their alert features too. Most big employers do have one. So take advantage of company websites. Don't forget about those too. And believe it or not, a lot of job seekers don't. They forget about them altogether. And they may never see some of the great jobs that are out there. And quick point on that. I'm not going to, it's not on here today, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Connect with local recruiters. If you are in a local job market, connect with the recruiters in that area, connect with recruiters in your industry. If you send me a message on LinkedIn, I will tell you how to find them if you don't know. But third-party recruiters are responsible for a significant percentage of the jobs that get filled that you'll never otherwise see. Okay, it's just the way it works. When my team works on a job, the employer who is our client, they don't post it directly. We don't compete against them. We work on their behalf, right? So always connect with recruiters. Screenshot this if you want. I'm going to move past it quickly. Job fairs. Job fairs sort of went away during COVID, but they're back with a vengeance. I saw a snapshot. I have my 22-year-old son is in grad school at UCF right now, and he sent me a screenshot of their job fair recently. It was packed. There were so many employers there. Don't miss out on those opportunities. Here's where you can check to find them, virtual as well as in person. It's a great boost. And then when you go to those, plan your day, right? Find out who's there, customize your resume in advance of the employers that you want to give it to. And believe it or not, some companies will interview and hire right on the spot with job fairs. So take advantage of those for sure. Applying to jobs. Okay. I could talk for an hour straight about this, but I don't have time. When you apply, you have to do other things unless your resume is so strong that it will stand out from the crowd, right? If you're LeBron James, if you're the LeBron James of whatever position you're applying to, you don't have to do anything. But you probably aren't listening to me right now if you are. And this is the difference between success or failure. I'll tell you right now, if you submit your resume to a job that has another 100 or more applicants, go ahead and assume that you're not going to hear unless you can look at it and say your resume is so good that you know it'll be pulled out of the pile. It just won't be. But here's what you can do. Pick up the phone and call. 0.01 at most % of candidates do that. And it's such an easy way for them to, you just confirm your resume's been sent, right? Someone asked me the other day on social media, what do I say when I call? It doesn't matter, right? It's the action that matters, not the actual words. Call the company, ask to speak with the department or person who's recruiting for the position that you applied to. You probably won't reach anyone live. That's okay. Leave a voicemail, even if it's a departmental voicemail, generic one. If it were me, I'd say, this is Pete Newsome. I applied to XYZ job on this date. I just want to confirm that it was received and my application was received. And if there's anything else I can do to pursue the job, I'm extremely interested in it. That's it, right? But that's not all you should do. So call always. No one does it. Everyone's lazy. And this is just lazy. Send them LinkedIn messages. And you'll hear from this. You might go, well, that's a lot of work, Pete. I hear people telling me to apply for hundreds of jobs. There's AI software that'll help you apply to 200 jobs in a day. Well, same logic. Unless you think your resume is so much better, it'll be pulled out of potentially hundreds. It's never going to be seen. But if you take these steps to call, to look at who the person is who's hiring for the role, call the talent acquisition team. That's what the recruiters are often called, the recruiter or talent acquisition team. Call them, reach out, make that direct connection, connect with them on LinkedIn, try to find out who the hiring manager is. Go to your expanded network, your connections, right? Connections. So people, who do they know that's connected to the company? Is there a school alumni that works for that job? If you make a phone call, if you reach out personally to people, I promise you it will make a huge difference. I see on social media a lot of people going, yeah, my parents say to do that and roll their eyes, boomers, right? I'm not a boomer, by the way. I'm Gen X, but it works. It works when you pick the phone and call and make that connection or send a personal note to someone. Older people love helping ambitious younger people. You just have to take the step and don't be afraid to do it. And then track all of your applications. Can't get way too confused if they're applying a lot and it's going on for days, weeks, potentially months. Keep it in a simple spreadsheet. Where you applied, the date, the position title, all the relevant information, so you can refer back and you can check back. If you haven't heard anything in a couple of days, that's another reason to reach out. Hey, I sent this application, haven't heard anything. And then as much as anything, when it comes time to interview, you can go back and read that job description. Believe it or not, I see every year, we probably have 10 candidates who are so good, and we tell them, you've got to go prepare for the interview. You've got to read the job description. You've got to do all these things. And they show up and they miss some super obvious things. You have to do your homework. It's a test. When you're walking in, you're going to pass or fail. It's also competitive, as I mentioned earlier. If you take the steps to prepare, you will have much, much greater success when the time comes than those who don't, right? So what do? You research the company, get online, look at their latest news, look at their mission, read that section of their website, and then look at the individual interviewers, right? Look at them on LinkedIn, find something common to bond with them over, right? Most people tell the story of what's important to them on their social media profile. So go ahead and look that up and be prepared. I think I have this as one of the last ones, but I'll say it now. Prepare questions in advance, right? So be prepared to have a successful day, just like you'd study for a test. Also use Glassdoor. I don't love that site because at times it's a place where people go with an axe to grind and complain, but you can use it to get company-specific interview questions. So when you've done all the work to get that interview, don't blow it at the last minute. And then, confirm the contact information when you're in an interview, right? So you have this opportunity to be live with the people who are going to make a decision. And before you leave, always get their specific names and phone numbers, emails if you can, so you can follow up with them after, right? You don't want to have to go back to the person who set up the interview and try to track it down after the fact. Strike while the iron's hot. Get their contact information before you leave. And then this is my favorite question, right? I was kind of a career salesperson. So my favorite question was really, is there any reason why I can't, start tomorrow, right? Go ahead and close the deal when you're there. Be prepared with some questions coming in. As the interview begins, ask if you can write down notes. And because you're going to forget otherwise, the interview goes, write it down. Don't bring a phone. Don't do it on your phone, because even though you might be writing notes on your phone, it's a bad look, right? We all know when someone's looking down at a phone, it's not great. So don't do that. Ask if you can write notes, whether it's a phone interview, a virtual one on Zoom, or in person. So bring a pen and paper, be prepared, and just write down some questions as you go. But this is my favorite one, because this gives you the chance to answer any open questions or anything you didn't do perfectly right. Just like I'm going to go back today and go, oh, I said all these things wrong. I should have done it this way instead of that way. But I want to be able to address it. So if you guys need the clarification now, I want to give it, right? Because otherwise, if we hang up, I missed that window. So ask that before you leave. Make sure you answer whatever's still open-ended. And then finally, send a thank you note, but specifically send a handwritten note. Now, you may go, hey, Pete, that is so old school. Nobody does that anymore. And that's exactly why you should do it, because no one does it anymore. So just think of yourself. Anytime you've received a card in the mail from someone, doesn't matter what the words are. It doesn't matter if the handwriting's bad. It just means someone took an extra step. And believe me when I say employers want candidates who are genuinely enthusiastic and motivated for the role. You got to be likable. That's a great way to be likable. And it makes up for some skills that you may not have technically, or some experience you may not have that they'd like. If you show that you're genuinely interested and you're willing to go the extra mile, which is what sending a handwritten note it shows, it makes a huge difference. So that's it. 3 minutes over, almost made it. I felt like I was talking a million miles an hour. But if you guys have any questions, I'm not seeing any through the chat yet. Is that because I did such a good job answering everything for you? That's awesome if so. But I'm going to look over here. Do we have any coming on YouTube? So, okay. Well, thank you. Then follow up Pete Newsome on LinkedIn. If you guys want to follow up with me, I will show you this again just real quick. If you want to grab the, well, it's gone. If you want to grab this to look at the course, it is all of this and a whole lot more, step by step, exactly what you need to do to get a job. And best of all, if it doesn't work within 30 days, you don't have results, you give you your money back. $49 that you spend up front. And you'll also get the benefit of the $80 of Beam Jobs resume and cover letter builder. And I didn't mention cover letters, so you have to buy the course to get those. But that's it. Thanks for joining today. I appreciate it. Bye for now.